Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone doing? My name's Kurt. I'm a dad who draws, and this is our Wednesday night live portrait drawing class. I just want to say hello to everyone. Carolyn, greetings to you as well. I'm glad to see that. I always love seeing your greeting from Toronto. That's always nice. It's always nice to see when we start off. So, my name's Kurt. This is my drawing channel, and I just want to welcome everyone who will be seeing this. You know what? We have this fantastic drawing group on Facebook. The link is down in the descriptions. We also have a great, we have numerous classes that you could take. One of my favorites, of course, is the Daily Draw, and that's also down in the description as well. But tonight's all about portraits, and I would recommend that you subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, do all that great stuff. Hey, Russell's in the house too. All right, Russell's in the house. He's ready to rock and roll from across the pond, right? You guys just got a brand new prime minister. I just saw that in the news. So anyways, we're going to draw this lovely model tonight. If you want to, we have a fun game in our Facebook group every Wednesday. I put up a number of photos, and the group gets to vote on which one they want to draw. And so this lovely lady was chosen today, and so we're gonna draw her. So okay, are you ready? Let's do this. But before we do that, let's go over just a couple simple ideas of how to draw the portrait. And I always like to start off with this because I never know who's gonna be. Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna close these curtains real quick. Hold on, behind me. All right, there we go. So I never know who's going to be on here for the first time, and I always want to kind of give an overview of how to draw a portrait. It's important. All right, so let's take a look at that. All right. So let's start off with just a round. Let me start here. I was taught this a long time ago, and I always pass it on to other students, okay? And it's this idea: 2D, 3D, face placement, okay? I want you to remember this process, because what you're going to do is use these three things to determine whether your head is leaning to the right or to the left. All right, let me move this camera around. Whether your head is moving forward or moving back, or which direction is your face going. Okay, so this little formula will help determine that. So let's kind of walk through that real quick. So let's just say let's just do two heads tonight. All right, so we usually start off by drawing the head with a sphere. Now, oh, I got one more. Look at this. Let me show you this. I broke my skull the other day, and I got them all glued up now. So we're in business. But I want to show this to you here. So when you're drawing a skull or a head, you'll notice the skull on the side profile is typically it's very round. You see that? But when we look at the head straight on, it's very square on the sides. You see, it's very flat on the sides. So usually when we go to draw a sphere or draw a skull, we start off with a sphere, but eventually we like to slice off the sides so it has a very flat sides. Okay, so let's start with, we're going to call this A and this B. And let's say, first thing we've got to determine that, let's say A is leaning slightly to its left. All right, that would be the 2D axis. The 2D axis. And let's say B is leaning a little bit to its right. Okay, so it could be like this, or it could be like this. You see the difference? All right, it doesn't matter, but that's the 2D axis. Is it going one way? Think of a clock. Think of a clock, you know, the hands go around the clock, so that's where you're trying to determine, all right? Once you determine whether it's leaning left or right, then you've got to determine, is it leaning forward along that arc or is it leaning back, all right? And the way that we show that is usually by drawing a line that represents the brow line. And this is the brow line. It goes right through the brow there. Good morning, Joe. How are you? So let's say in A, this person's leaning forward just a little bit. Okay. I can just kind of draw through the model there. And in B, we'll say this person's leaning back. So let's just slightly, all right. So if I was to, if it's leaning forward, this is that's my axis there. If it's leaning back, I'm going to be like this. Okay, one is leaning forward and one is leaning back. All right, and the next thing we've got, so we've got the 2D axis, we've got the 3D axis. Now, let's determine where the face is looking. So if this A is leaning forward, see the head can swivel on that axis, okay? So let's say that the head is pointing in this, the face is going to point in this direction there. And we'll do the opposite way. In B, the face is going to be pointing in this direction. All right, the next step I look for, once I determine which direction the face is, I look for the temples. The temples, you could take your fingers and they're right behind your eyebrow here. They're like two little nodes. And on this guy, they're going to be right there. Right there and right there, okay? So on A here, there's one temple, and the other one's going to be way over here. Now, because remember now, A is a 3/4 view. That means like I'm seeing just 3/4 of the face. And whenever you have a 3/4 view, everything on this side is going to be foreshortened. That means it's squished together. Everything on this side is going to be long and stretched out. Okay? B, let's do the same thing with B. So there's the one temple on this side, and this way it's going to be a little bit further away. All right. Let's use that center line there and create the center line of the face. And let's do the same thing over here. And the center line is a line that will establish the very center of the face, okay? Sometimes you've heard people say, oh, find the T of the face. The T of the face would be like this, you see? So that's what we have over on A. Let's just kind of roughly put that in there. There's the T of the face there. And let's put that in B as well. There is the T of the face. So next thing is now I have the temples, and now I can determine the sides of my head. All right. And I simply go right from the temple here. And I could, in a sense, slice off the side of that head there. Same thing over here. And then this would be more of a straight line now coming over here. And this would be a straight line. See that? That immediately makes the head flat on the sides. And you could even create yourself a line over here and a line over there. Let's go ahead and drop down just a little bit. Drop down. This is going to establish the corner of the jaw. Okay. And then we want to take this line right there on A. This actually is a good question. I didn't even, you know, if you're looking at A, just for the sake of conversation here, and you create like almost a equilateral triangle, a lot of times this will be close to being the bottom of the nose. Same thing over here. We could try that too. Almost like a nice equilateral triangle. Let's jump over to A here, and if you take this distance and double it, this will be about the bottom of your chin. In fact, I'm going to erase that. And the same thing on that side. We could come down here like that. Let's go ahead and get that bottom of that chin like something like that. And then we're just going to sweep on down and then sweep on down the other side. Same thing over here. We're going to sweep on down and sweep on down. And that right there is your basic face volume. Just by going through those quick little steps. Let me show you one more. You could have the visor. This is the part. This is the visor is the part where it goes from your forehead down here into the bridge of your nose, and then the plane that your nose sits on top of. Okay. So watch that. So we go like this. Just like that. Same thing is true on the other side. We would come in. That might be too severe, but you get the idea. And then this, of course, would follow in suit. I'm going to come through here and just erase some of these extra lines because I don't need them anymore. And if you need to, you could always add a bit of a tone here to remind you that this is a wedge. Cut out of our skull. All right, I think what we're going to do here, we're going to stop there, and well, let's get into our drawing, because I think if that is an excellent, this is an excellent place to start, to stop, and just have you practice these over and over again. And I would recommend that when you do that, when you do these, try and use a photo reference, but don't draw the picture. Just draw this and try and get, or draw this. Try and get that accuracy. So grab a photo. You can find photos of people having different positions of their head, and then you can give that a go. All right. All right. Let's get rid of that. Let's bring up our lady here. Now let's go through the same process with her and see how we do tonight. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and start here. All right, so there's my sphere, and when I draw that, I'm using my elbow. And remember, we're going to start with 2D, 3D, and then face placement, okay? So, let's discuss the 2D axis. Right now, the 2D axis there is none because she is standing straight up. She's neither leaning to the right, nor is she leaning to the left. So we're good. We could start off just by using a center line that's straight up and down. Okay, the 3D axis, she is neither leaning forward, nor is she leaning back. So again, the 3D axis is straight up and down. Wow, we picked a good one tonight, didn't we? But now she's got her face. Her face is not looking directly at us. Her face is a bit of a 3/4 view, right? So let's start off with this brow line. And it's almost a straight line because she's not leaning in a 2D or 3D reaction. But let's get the center line. Let's start off tonight with the center line, okay? But before you drop one down, let's take a quick look here. There's the center line. There's the center of her face. Here's the edge. So, okay, you can see that there. And then here's the back. So that's kind of the measurement that we're going to be looking for. So I'm going to go right about there, I think. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about that one. And then let's drop this down. Okay. There's the center line. Let's establish where her temples are. And let me just point them out to you. That might be helpful here. So of course she has the temple right there at the edge. And then the other one is going to be right over there. All right, so we've got one temple here. And then a temple right over there. All right, next. Here's the bottom of her nose. And let's see what this triangle would look like if I drew right on top of it. Look at that. That is like an equilateral triangle. Do you see that? So let's just kind of guesstimate that. We're going to be right about there, I think. So there's the center, and our chin is going to come down here. So look at that. This is almost halfway. You see that? Almost halfway measurement there. All right, since this is going to be the temple, let me show you this. There is roughly the side of her head, so let's get that in as well. Center, and then this is going to drop down a little bit, and that's going to be our sweep. Keep this light now. Hey, Patty, how are you doing? Good to see you tonight. So, let's see. I was just going to say something. Oh, yes. You know what? I say this, and I'll always keep repeating it. You keep getting your chin wrong. Halfway, go from the brow line to the bottom of the nose. That's half. Bring it down, and then you can see what I've done here. Just sweep it around. Yep. Never try and draw someone's likeness. Instead, try and get their construction. If you get the construction down, more than likely the likeness will fall into place, okay? Now, remember that we were talking about how the sides of the head are very flat? Well, nice thing is when a person gets in a 3/4 view, they maintain that flatness on the shorter side of their head, and you can see that in our model here with over here. Look, that has a very flat feel there. You see that? So let's get that into place as well. So we're just gonna bring a light, and then we're just gonna come up just slightly, a little bit right there. Do the lips line up with the eyes? The corner of the lips usually will line up with the center of the eyes or the pupils if they're looking straight on. And we're gonna look at that in just a second, Patty. The wings of the nose will line up with the inside, the tear ducts, okay? All right, let's get rid of all that stuff there. All right, great. And then let me just quickly erase all this mumbo jumbo. I'll make my picture a little bit larger so you can see it. Okay, let's continue on here. All right, so let's kind of establish this is our main form. Let's go ahead and get this visor that I talked about a little bit earlier. Now it's very subtle in her. Okay, so where am I here? It's very subtle. It's going to be down here. And this is going to change from person to person. It's slight. And then this is going to come down like this. Watch this. Like that. And like that. I'm drawing lightly because we're gonna draw on top of that. That I can't get. What were you, Patty, tell me exactly what you meant by that. And I'll review it again, okay? Let's get the center line of her nose continuing, dropping down like this. Oh, the visor. Yes. Okay. Yes, I understand that. That's all I'm going to say right now, because it will, if I just told you it will come with time as we draw more and more of it. I'll tell you what, maybe this will be helpful. You're like, no, Kurt, that doesn't help. All right, so this is what we're looking for right here, like this. Okay. It's that principle or that idea. And then of course the center is going to come out like this. These are just planes. So if you have a hard time visualizing these things, it's just something you want to keep in your mind, okay? All right, let's continue on here. So let's go ahead and get this eyeball on the left-hand side here in place. And we'll get the other one as well. You know what? This one on the left, I'm actually going to move it even further out. Yep, you know what, Patty, that's a common thing for people to draw their eyes too big. I do that too, so I have to constantly adjust. So you're not alone in that. Okay, let's get this nose. Let's get this nose here. So I'm going to start with that edge of my eye. And the nose is interesting. So let's say if I turn her nose up like this, okay? And if we drew, it might, if I was looking straight at her nose, the bottom of it, it might be something like that. But I can't. We're not seeing the bottom of it. So let's just bring up the bottom there, just a bit like this. That's essentially the bottom of her nose. All right, this is going to have a bit of a keystone shape. Okay, this is this part of the eye right here, right in between the two eyeballs. Okay. Looks like, yes. And then you're going to come down that just like this. Okay. Keep it nice. Looks like Snoopy. All right, now we got our nose down in place. let's get the barrel of the mouth. Okay, so the edges here of the barrel of the mouth. Let me show you this. That's an edge, and that's the edge, and look how these line up with the center of our eyes. Okay, the barrel of the mouth, and this goes slightly. It's going to go slightly below her nose. All right. So I'm going to just slightly line that up. Line that up. How do you do wrinkles? Well, if you could use just a single line, but once we start getting value, that's where you really want to look closely at them. Hold that thought, Patty, till we get closer to the end, and I will demo that, okay? Okay, let's go ahead and do a center line, because we're going to use that to understand where her lips are going to go. Great questions, by the way. And then let's get her chin in now. All right. Let's also put her ear in place as well. Now her ear, let's look at the alignment of her ear here. Typically, the bottom of an ear will line up with the bottom of the nose, but as you age, your face your face starts to droop and hang on your your chins look like they've been chiseled out. That's usually a good thing. I like it when they're chiseled. Listen, the older you get, your skin starts to sag and hang on your skull. So that means that your ears are going to hang a little bit lower. So her ear, the bottom of her ears are going to be a little bit lower because of her age. So let's drop them all the way down here. And the top of her ears is somewhere, we can't quite see it because it's covered by her hair. But we could guess it's right about there. So let's kind of put that in there. And let me just see really quickly here. Yes, Lynn Targus. The targus is this little part of the ear, this little bump right there. One of our artists is used to be in the medical field, so she showed me that. Mine isn't hanging. Okay, so we're gonna get the bottom of her ear just like that, and then we'll come back and add some tone to that. I'm almost 59. Wow. I don't think you're old. I'm 55. All right. I like that. I like that your chin is chiseled out there. You must have a good workout, Patty. All right. Let's continue on here. So let's kind of get the outline of her hair now coming in. So let's just come straight up here. And what I'm doing is I'm going to use the negative space, all right? Negative space here. So what I'm looking at is this, oops, did I go in the right layer? you know, to get this, I'm looking, here's her brow line. Here's her brow line. So I'm really looking to this shape right there. That's what I'm going for here, okay? When I'm going to drop her hair in. That's what I'm seeing in my mind. So let's see here. We're going to come up. This, of course, is going to be a little more flat right there. If I'm going along there, okay. I can add the center line coming up here. Okay, that skull looks pretty good there. I'm going to erase some of these lines on the sides here. And her hair is going to come on the outside here. It's going to come right down here, close to her nose. You see how this... See if her hair is right there. Look at that alignment. It's line up very closely to her nose there. And then her hair is coming back. That's a shape. How do you know the height of the hair? Well, I'm using the top of her head as a skull, and then I could tell that her hair is relatively thin on top. So it's like almost going to be wearing, just like it's going to sit right on top of the skull there. So all right, let's continue on here. Now let's move into her eyes and define her lips just a little bit, okay? All right. So let's start over here. Let's start with this. Let's start with this corner here. And it's going to take a path that's somewhat slightly rounded. Now this is the opening here, okay? It's somewhat closed. But then when we get to the far side, you can see it really drops down. Do you see that? You know what? When you draw teeth, you have to be careful not to draw the lines in between the teeth. You want to look at it as a whole and just slightly put them in, Patty. All right, let's get these lips here now. This is going to be where my upper lip's going to start. And I'm just going to follow the curve. Now look where, let me zoom in here. I want to show this to you. Here's the corner. Now remember, foreshortened, it's going to be shorter on that side. It's going to be longer on that side. You see that? We want to keep that in mind. So it's going to be short on this side, and it's going to be long on this side. Now look at her bottom lip. The corner of the bottom lip that's to the far side it extends beyond the edge of the lips. So it's like comes over here. You see this? And it extends further. Let's get that, let's define now the opening a little bit more. So and this has a downward turn to it. And I'm just going to add a tone to my upper lip. When looking straight at a person, the lips are equal. Yes, that's right. If you're looking straight at it, they're gonna be equal side to side. That's right. If a person looking straight on, you're gonna have more equal on either side. Okay. You're right. Okay, let's go ahead and put. Let's go ahead and get these eyeballs in here. Okay. So the first thing what I want to do with the eyeballs, I want to establish the where the tear ducts are. Okay, so I'm going to put a little dot here for this tear duct, and then I'm going to put one right there for that tear duct, and they're about level. So you've got this one, got this one. Now this one, look, the other corner is a little bit higher. Where this one, it's slightly higher, but not as extreme as the one on the outside. So let's be mindful of that. So we're gonna put this a little bit higher there, and this is gonna be slightly higher. All right, let's do this. So this, let's start with the one on the outside here. This is going to come up long and then short. This is going to come up long and then dart down right into that, just like that. How do you make your glasses look like glass? Yep, you said it. Reflections. That's exactly right. Because they're clear, and you could see those. You could see these. You could see that reflection and that one right there. We're gonna pop those in, okay? But we'll put her glasses in last. All right. These upper eyelids. Look at this. Look at this one on this far side here. It comes down and then up. And she has an extra amount of mascara on, and it looks really pretty. So let's make sure we put that in, and all I'm going to do is just make sure that this is extra thick right there, extra thick right over there, and then just on the edge here I'm going to pull some eyelashes out. It doesn't have to be perfect, and on the other side as well. I was showed you could first make the brows like a M. Yes, the brows. You mean like the yeah? I could see the letter M there. Sure. Let's get this this is her eyes are sunken back into her head, and that's causing these deep the overlap of the skin, right? So watch this here. So let's get that deep shadow there and the deep shadow over here. Yeah, I like that. That's a good tip there. Now when you put your pupils in, look for the negative space. Look for the negative space, like right here. That's the negative space, meaning the whites of the eye. That's what I'm kind of going for here. And they hang from the top. All right, let's get I'm going to move on to the side of her face and just kind of get these, she has these, there's the far side there where the barrel of the mouth is. And this has a slight S curve to it. And I'm going to erase slightly this edge of my nose. So this is to demonstrate kind of the hard edge where it goes underneath. And then we could just add there's a slit for her nostrils. See that? I eventually will color it in, Patty. For right now, I'm just, when I add tone, for like right now her eye, the whites of her eyes are going to be far more toned back. So I'll drop those in after I get all this construction down. Okay, so the side of her cheek is coming in here. We have to get this jowl. And then I'm going to change my drawing slightly. Because that's what we do. We're always trying to make slight adjustments. And let's get her neck in here. So where does this neck is almost, neck is just below center. You see that? The neck lines up like right there. You could see this tendon. It's coming right under there. And then she has this tendon. Look at that. That's coming down like this. And then we have the back of her neck. And then those pearls are going to fall somewhere in there. Good. You've seen the negative spaces in the cheeks, you bet. These are the cheekbones. Let's come back to these eyebrows here now and look closely. Look closely to where they're falling. And then this one starts way over here. I'm going to go ahead and just tone in these eyes just a little bit. I'm going to add this little pearl earring here. And I think it's time we put these glasses on her, okay? That's gonna add a lot to her personality. So let's use some markers here. All right, then that way this will tell us about how big and where they need to go. So let me change the color there. So I'm like, okay, so that's one edge of the glass, and then this is the side of her face. And this is the other edge, so you can see how far that sticks out, okay? Then we've got the edge on the other side. And where is this? Let's see, does this have any strange alignments? No, but I'm looking at this distance. It's a little bit further than that. So that's my other measurement there, okay? How far? Now we're going to want to establish how far down. This looks like it goes almost through the middle of her nose. And how high up that goes. It's right on the edge of her face there. So let's get there. Yeah, let's get those marks in here, okay? So I'm going to start with that inner corner there. Okay, that's about how far out that glass is. What about height-wise here? It's going to be right to the top of the eyebrow. And low, it's going to be right about there, okay? All right, here we go. I'm going to draw this one first. Really trying to draw from my elbow here, not my wrist. All right. Top of eyebrow for the other one. This is going to sit way a little bit closer in the nose there. All the way down. And just about like that, okay? There we go. All right, let's get that bridge of those glasses there. And on the other side as well. Oops. I'm going to darken in my pupils here of my eyes. And I'm going to darken in her eye, the top of her eyes there, to create that eyeshadow. Okay, we're up to an hour here, so let's get this. Let's establish the side shadow on the side of her face. Okay, so all I'm going to do is come down. I'm going to look closely here. I'm going to not guess. I'm going to actually determine where this shadow is, and then in a very light tone, shadow underneath her nose, and that's casting a shadow across the that barrel of the mouth. I'm going to erase some of these other lines now. Now, Patty asked about wrinkles. So, you know, think of if I took a wrinkle on the side view, it would be like this. And of course, the skin is gathering right there. I mean, that's the science. That's what's happening with the wrinkle. The skin is coming together. And what's going to happen is you're going to have one side that's going to have a bit of a shadow, and then the other side is going to pick up some light. So that's what we want to think about when we're going to draw wrinkles. So if we came in here, you could create one side of the line, all right? Then you're going to leave a little bit of white, and then you're going to create the darker side. See? And then you could do that again. Darker side, a little bit of white, and then the light. All right, let's get this hair in place. Be with the rest of the time that we have. So let's get this. She has a nice comb over, and I'm just pushing down and pulling up. Let's come down here. This is like a wave. Look at that. See that? And then I'm just using surface lines to get that nice feel coming up. But then it changes direction here. You see that? Then the top of her head, look, It's like it's coming down as a crown. Go slowly here. Don't. I'm sure you have a nice picture, so we don't want to rush it. Now, I'm going to make the edge of this brim a little bit on the heavier side. And not sure what instruments that you have, but if you're using your eraser, you can come back in and get some white highlights here. And this will help to say that this is glass. And where I'm putting my highlights now, you want to make sure it's shadowed. There's a lot of shadow back there, so your highlights will show up. How are we looking here? I haven't looked closer at this. I'm going to come in, I'm going to shave off a little bit of my lower jaw here, just a bit. I think I went just a little bit long. Yeah, that looks better. How do you put the reflection on the glasses? Now, do you mean the white reflection, or like, you know, it's like dark right here? If you mean the white, I would erase away. If you have, you know, if you're doing this with, like, if you had a white chalk, you could put it on there like that. They also had back in the day, and I don't know if they still have it, is like they had this stuff called, like it was like a little bit of white paint. You could just paint those bright highlights on if you wanted to. Okay, I think that's going to do it for tonight. You could keep going back in here. Like, we haven't even added any tone to her hair yet. There's a little bit of a shadow underneath her bangs here. But yeah, I think that should cover it. So listen, thanks for watching. I don't want to keep you much over an hour. My name's Kurt. I'm a dad who draws. And yeah, let me go into our Facebook group and let me see your pictures. I'd love to see what you did. And leave a comment and all that good stuff, okay? Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you soon. Okay, bye-bye.